everyone, this is Hyunseo hiding behind the camera to talk about one of the 5 royal palaces of Joseon Dynasty. That is, as you saw in the cool, sleek, rolling intro, Deoksugung Palace. So, a quick reminder prior to starting this video is not the wholesome introduction of all the buildings within the palace, but more like an essay that covers the brief background history of the palace, along with some of my thoughts on it. So if you want to know more about each of the buildings, you can check out the website, to which I will leave the link down below. Now, without further ado, let's get started. The Deoksugung Palace is located at the center of the metropolitan city Seoul. It is right next to the city hall, so it could get quite tumultuous at times because of the protests. It is in the periphery of the Russian and British embassy, and also the beautiful Stonewall Road that you might want to check out when you're planning your visit. Now, to give you a brief synopsis of the history of Deoksugung, it was not originally built as a planned palace, but after it was built, it was used as the house of Prince Walsan, the elder brother of King Seongjong. But about a century later, during the 1590s, a war with Japan broke out known as Imjinwaran, and that's when Deoksugung came to light as a functional temporary palace. King Seonjo, the king at that time, decided to move into Deoksugung as Gyeongbokgung, the main palace, and the rest of the palaces were burned down during the battle. It is also believed to be where King Seonjo passed away in 1608. Later, it became the place where Prince Gwanghae is believed to be enthroned, and gained its name Gyeongungung, wishing for the great fortune of the country. Time flew, and Prince Gwanghae was dethroned, and King Injo was enthroned here, and later left for Cheongdeokgung. So basically, a lot of hullabaloos happened in the early Joseon Dynasty in Deoksugung, and then it was left abandoned. I mean, not abandoned, but more like left unused by royal families for more than 2 centuries until an even bigger hullabaloo transpired. As the 19th century rolled in, Joseon was faced with the need to change its economic and political systems drastically. Joseon was invaded by Western countries like France and America, as well as the Qing dynasty, which is China at the time, and also Japan, who fought to rule the country. After it had opened up its ports in 1876, the forces from both inside and outside the country demanded for modernization as an independent country. And there clashed the cries of revolution from the bottom and the attempts of sometimes subtle, sometimes dramatic reforms from the above. King Gojong, the penultimate king of the Joseon Dynasty and also the king at that time, wanted to get out of the Japanese rule by turning to the Russian forces. But as the Japanese government began losing their political power in Joseon, they decided to invade Gyeongbokgung, where all the royal family lived, and gruesomely assassinated Gojong's wife, Myeongseong, aka the Queen of Joseon, who they saw as a threat since she was very bright at diplomacy. This event is referred to as Ilmisabyön, an incident in the Ilmi year. King Gojong, of course, feared that he was also in danger and managed to flee and take refuge in the Russian embassy, an event known as Agonpacheon, which was a huge threat to Joseon's independence under Russia. Thankfully, in 1895, Gojong managed to move back into a palace, Gyeongungung, as he thought it was relatively safe because the palace was near embassies and legations of 11 other countries. And amidst all the quandary, on October 1897, he declared a new title for the country, Daehanje국, or the Great Han Empire. Gojong wanted to rule the new era under the name Gwangmu, with Korean traditions at the bases, along with Western modern ideas as a reference. This is also around the time when Deoksugung is set apart from the other 4 palaces, in a sense that the buildings in Deoksugung consist of a mixture of both traditional and Western-styled architectures. In the 1900s, the palace saw the construction of Seokjojeon, which is a new classical architecture with an audience hall on the first floor and the emperor's bedroom in the second, designed by a British architect, J.R. Harding. But in less than a decade, a tragic set of events happened. Japan, after winning the war against Russia, forced Gojong to sign the Ilsa-Ear Treaty in Jungmyeonjeon in 1905. After this, the Japanese government began to intervene in every aspect of Korean governance by taking away its diplomatic rights and establishing a Japanese residency general. When Kojong attempted to report this unfair treatment by sending special envoys to Hague in the Netherlands, he was immediately dethroned by Japan and spent the remainder of his life here in this palace. And that is when its name changed at last to Deoksugung, which wishes for the virtue and the longevity of the emperor. And fast forward to Kojong's death in 1919, the death of the emperor sparked an event that will be forever remembered and cherished by the contemporary Koreans: the 1919 March 1st Independence Movement. And although this will be the near end of the Korean modern history as well as the end of this video, it's important to remember that this is certainly not where the history of this country ends. But in the end, I think modern Korean history is such a fascinating phase in Korean history. I like to think of this period as a unique makeshift bridge that not only connects but contains the snippets of the two worlds. The first world being the traditional Joseon dynasty, which has been around for nearly 5 centuries, and the second world being the contemporary Korea, after the founding of the Provisional Korean Government in 1919, along with the bits of Western world that came with it. But to most Koreans, this period is also conceived as tragic, since right after this period there followed the Japanese colonial period, and that is something worth making a whole nother video about. All in all, I'm learning about this period at school, Korean history as well, and it's been a very exciting journey to do some extra research both inside and outside school. And it felt oddly overwhelming in a good way to be standing before Deoksugung where so many important and sometimes tragic events took place, and to be gazing at the buildings, listening to the stories as we walked past them, recollecting and reimagining the history behind them all. And I think these things are really easy to overlook when you don't know the history behind them, which is why I really recommend educating yourself before or during your visits to Korean palaces. Oh, and I almost forgot, the guides are available for free, so you might not want to miss that out as well when you're planning your visit. That's all I prepared for this video. I hope you found some of the information here helpful, and thanks for watching. Bye!